The 14th Amendment, Section 3, has become every Democrat's favorite amendment. I'm serious. People on the left, myself included, have been talking about this amendment more than the right wing talks about the Second Amendment. But can the 14th Amendment actually be used to remove Donald Trump from a primary ballot? Let's take a look at what the Supreme Court had to say about that on this episode of Progressive Matters.
No person shall hold any office who, having previously taken an oath to support the Constitution, shall have engaged in insurrection.
Donald Trump's army of lawyers made a special appearance in front of the United States Supreme Court. They were there to argue that Donald Trump, despite doing his best to overthrow democracy as we know it, has every right to give it another shot. Whether it's overthrowing a Hawaiian monarchy, a military occupation of Cuba, or a CIA-orchestrated coup of the democratically elected president of Guatemala, America has a long and storied history of attempts at overthrowing government. But most Americans know better than to shit where we eat. Not the Mandarin Messiah, though. The Donald has shat all over the dining room table, and it's his lawyer's job to put on the hazmat suits and break out the sanitary wipes after his diaper overfloweth.
What we said in our opening brief was President Trump did not engage in any act that can plausibly be characterized as insurrection.
All right, so why would this not be an what is your argument that it's not? Your reply brief says that it wasn't because I think you say it did not involve an organized attempt to overthrow the government. So
that's one of many reasons, but for an insurrection there needs to be an organized, concerted effort to overthrow the government of the United States through violence. And this
so
riot
the point is that a chaotic effort to overthrow the government is not an insurrection?
No, we didn't concede that it's an effort to overthrow the government either, Justice Jackson, right? None of these criteria were met. This was a riot. It was not an insurrection. The events were shameful, criminal, violent, all of those things, but it did not qualify as insurrection as that term is used in Section 3.
It was shameful, criminal, and violent, but it wasn't an insurrection. It was a riot! That might be the closest to an honest answer a Trump lawyer has ever given. Of course, Trump couldn't let his lawyer come out and steal the spotlight from him. And in true Trumpian fashion, he went from zero to, yes, it was an insurrection, faster than House Republicans losing impeachment votes.
About what I said right after the insurrection. Because I think it was an insurrection caused by Nancy Pelosi. This was an insurrection, if it was an insurrection, which there were no guns, there were no anything except for the fact that they shot Ashley Babbitt. Somebody from police force shot Ashley Babbitt.
It was an insurrection. I mean, it wasn't an insurrection, but if it was an insurrection, it was a Nancy Pelosi insurrection. Also, did you know they shot Ashley Babbitt? I'm not sure if he's confessing to a crime, accusing Nancy Pelosi of a crime, or if he just forgot where he was and who he was talking to. That is one stable genius. Also, has Trump lost so much money that he lives in the airport now? Or is it he needs to be close in case he has to fly out for yet another criminal trial at any moment? Despite Donald's confessions and his lawyer's inability to defend the indefensible, the Supreme Court seemed conflicted as to whether or not all these confessions were reason enough to keep that guy off the ballot.
It's a federal criminal statute, and if you're convicted of that, you are, it says, shall be disqualified from holding any office. And so there is a federal statute on the books, but President Trump has not been charged with that.
What is very clear from the history is that the framers were concerned about charismatic rebels who might rise through the ranks up to and including the presidency of the United States.
But then why didn't they put the word president in the very enumerated list in Section 3? The thing that really is troubling to me is I totally understand your argument, but they were listing people that were barred, and president is not there. And so I guess that just makes me worry that maybe they weren't focusing on the president. And, for example, the fact that electors of vice president and president are there suggests that really what they thought was if we're worried about the charismatic person, we're going to bar insurrectionist electors, and therefore that person is never going to rise.
What about the idea that we should think about democracy, think about the right of the people to elect candidates of their choice, of letting the people decide, because your position has the effect of disenfranchising voters to a significant degree.
This case illustrates the danger of refusing to apply Section 3 as written, because the reason we're here is that President Trump tried to disenfranchise 80 million Americans who voted against him, and the Constitution doesn't require that he be given another chance.
Look, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. I was one of the first people to talk about the 14th Amendment on here, and I've been saying for a long time now that I would not be surprised to see the Supreme Court come back with a 9-0 against removing Trump from the ballot. The Supreme Court will not set a precedent that will lead to the removal of a candidate without a conviction. But to be honest, I'm okay with that. Not because I don't think Trump incited an insurrection, but because I don't think Trump can win in 2024. And if you're tired of hearing about how if Trump doesn't win in 2024, the middle team 6 wing of MAGA is going to rise up, check out this video where Jordan Klepper discusses the possibility of a second civil war. Stay safe out there, and remember, get educated and get out and vote.